Quinn, take it away.
Hey, thanks, Craig. Excited to be here this morning with you. And I will say, Craig kind of loaded up a little quick. He said, today there's actually two speakers. It's power packed. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. That's good. Two speakers today, Craig. I didn't know that he was the second speaker until he announced it to everybody. So clearly, Craig is on his own hype bandwagon. And that's exciting because he will deliver a powerful backpacking message, it seems. But hey, welcome to today. Hopefully you had a good Mother's Day weekend. Hopefully you honored your mother, or actually the memory of your mother. But I was really impressed this weekend by the Kentucky Derby. Now, I'm not much of a horse guy, but when someone has 80 to 1 odds, 80 to 1, strike rich and wins, that inspires me. Because when we look at our life and our journey, sometimes the odds get stacked against us. And sometimes we feel we are that long shot. And so often when we're going through that job search, that next big thing, trying to find your next place, where are you actually going to be placed with purpose? It could seem like a long shot, and it could seem like a grind, and it could seem like this unclear world in space. But to know that 80 to 1 can win, there's hope for this week. There's hope that this week could be something big and impactful for your life. And so you have to approach it like such. So 80 to 1, strike rich. Let's believe this week we're going to strike rich and get big. So saying that, the first thing I'd love to do is connect with you. So open up your chat, and I would like to hear from you the best thing that's happened in the last 7 days of your life. It could be life. It could be something that's happened in your leadership, your business, or your endeavors. What's the best thing that's happened in the last 7 days for you? And so, yes, this will be participation. And yes, coach is not patient. So I may give a shout or a call out if I'm not hearing from you. So type that in the chat, and I would love to hear it. Best thing in the last 7 days. Craig celebrated Mother's Day. Love it. Kendall, I had an inspirational thought. I'm going to pause right there on that one, Kendall. Would you mind sharing your inspirational thought? And you're on mute.
Unmute. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, right before this call, so my life has been challenging for the past few years, and I've been kind of stuck in a hard place. And so an unmotivated or unforced future thinking thought has not necessarily been easy for me. And so this week I had a few, and I thought, well, this is exciting. This is a change in my mentality. And then right before this call, I had an entrepreneurial thought of creating a business for people who have been through some of the things that I've been through. And I thought, oh my gosh, I could be excited about this idea. So that was exciting, just to feel like there was some momentum going there.
Love it. Thanks for sharing. That sounds like 80 to 1, and I love it that you're inspired by that. Really cool. We also have celebrating a Mother's Day. So yeah, keep popping them in the chat. It's important for you to express yourself, and love to hear, more of what you're excited about. You need to be enthused and excited about life, and reflecting on good things does that. But saying that, I'm going to kind of jump in, and I'm going to share a screen, and we are going to jump into Growth Time. Okay. Growth Time is a coaching platform that I've kind of built. It started actually in the pandemic, that COVID space world. And today we are talking about selling yourself, the power of you. And with this thought, I'd like to share with you, many of you heard that old bird song, or maybe you're a fan of Solomon, and he wrote a book, Ecclesiastics, and there is a time for every season underneath the heavens, right? There is a time to sow, there's a time to reap, time for love, a time for war, time for hate, a time to build up, time to tear down. But I will share with you, it is always growth time. So today is a huddle. As a coach, I like to huddle up. This is our pregame huddle to start Monday. And I want you to keep that mindset. It is growth time. So grab a pen, grab some paper, because we're going to put in some work. Like today is the first day of the rest of your life, and you're going to choose how you spend it. Either you're going to get busy growing, or you might get busy dying. But we're going to believe that it is definitely your growth time today. But sharing that, what we're really talking about is selling yourself and the power of you. So this is where I need 100% participation. And in that, I want you to open up that chat again. And I want to hear, what challenges do you face with selling yourself? So when it comes to selling yourself into like an interview, or it's selling yourself in networking or a concept or idea with business, what is the challenge you have? What's the sticky point? Like really, where does it sit with selling yourself? Obviously, you jumped on today with some intent thought, but so share that in the chat. What's the sticky point for you about selling yourself? And I know there's a little bit of lag by the time you type and the time it pops in. So one we've got, it's awkward. Okay, very good. It's uncomfortable, right? Seems weird. How do I promote myself? Age. I know my self-worth when I feel that there are people with more years of experience. Okay. Reviewing. Bragging on myself. Keep popping it in. We've got a few more to go. It's important you want to engage. You showed up here for a reason. And if you want to move and see something shift, don't just show up and be a fan. Get in and let's play the game. So other thoughts on what is the sticky point in selling yourself? Yeah, that uncomfortable space of not necessarily having experience. Convincing them I can do the work without coming across as arrogant. So true, Mark. How do you do that in a way? Very good. Well, we're going to start the journey today. And really, the journey of selling yourself starts with your story. So the story you have about you is going to be your launch point, is going to be the framework. And we're going to connect with 3 keys to sell yourself. But the framework of everything you do in your interview and your network is your story, because your story matters. Your story is impactful. Your story can shift and move the hearts and the minds of the people you're connecting with. So I thought, what way to start? Then I will go ahead and kind of give you an intro. I'll kind of share the growth time story and parts of it that you may find relatable. So I'm actually a mischievous Jersey boy who grew up on the Jersey Shore. I found my way to actually playing college basketball. You can't tell from this call, but I'm 6'9", and I played college basketball at a school called Davidson College. From there, I was grateful to have the opportunity to have some tryouts in professional sports. So I got a chance to play with the Lakers and got involved with the late, great Kobe Bryant, played with those Chicago Bulls teams and had tryouts for them, but didn't make it, got cut, and actually went down to what they call the minor leagues at that time. Now, at the time, I was also in a place where I had my own frailties, let's call it my own inner demons that I wrestled with, and I needed to come to Jesus talk, and I actually got it. So I had come to a Jesus point in my life, and I'd come to a faith that began to transform me. I would say I met the great growth coach. That's my fun name for God. And in that, my potential, my opportunities for change completely transformed in a matter of a 6-month period. There was something new and different that awakened in me, and my possibilities and potential grew, and my performance changed. Within about 6 months, I signed a contract with the LA Clippers. Now, the Clippers are cool now, but back then they were the worst franchise in the decade. So this still was the NBA, still was my dream, but there I was, and then boom, the wheels fell off. I blew out an ankle, came back, blew out another ankle, went through a story of debilitating back pain. It was one adversity after another, but I learned a lot and grew a lot as the growth coach guided me on how to grow through adversity. And so in that journey, I became enamored with how to help people get free, live to the potential, and live life at a high level. So also in that story, I needed to work. I needed a job. I needed to find my talents in a place to put my purpose to use. So I started off in the fitness industry. I started doing sales for, at the time, it was the biggest fitness company in the world, 24-hour fitness. And lo and behold, I was really good at it. Gracefully, thankfully, I was one of the top salespeople, still in the top 5 in company history in terms of sales. And you know what, that comes opportunity. So they promoted me to management and to leadership. I spent almost 2 decades in the fitness industry and finished up as a mid-senior level manager running markets and territories. But what I found about my journey is that I loved leadership. Leadership wasn't a means to an end of driving numbers and performance. It was the end. I fell in love with leadership. And I fell in love with understanding clarity on how to get clarity. And so my journey was basically then transformed. What happened is in 2020, everyone knows the two beautiful, nasty words, COVID and pivot. And that was my story. So in that year, 2020, company went bankrupt, went through organization, eliminated my role, and I'm left in that spot. I am a long shot odd now. I am back looking for a job, looking for what to do next, what that looks like, what are the opportunities, endless job search, all the doubt, all the fears, all the concerns. What does this look like? But I would say that there were some strong anchors, and the power of you, which we'll discuss, was a strong anchor for me. I was clear on my why. I was clear on my motivation. I was clear that my purpose was to grow and develop leaders' lives through coaching, training, education to reach their maximum potential. I put in that growth work and got a clearly defined mission statement in my early 30s. I also knew my values, what I valued the most: care, commitment, and trust. And they spoke loud. And so therefore, when it became time for transition in my life, I had strength, I had courage, I still had confidence. And it presented a pathway where I'd worked with a coach, a literal coach, consulted the growth coach. And before you know it, growth time was born. It was basically born out of adversity. It was born out of pain. It was born out of difficulty. And I took all my passion for growing life and my passion for growing leadership. So, wow, I'm going to reach a generation, the millennials and Gen Zs, who need to understand the pathway, a proven pathway to grow through life and leadership so they can show up their best and reach their potential. So that's a little bit of the growth time story. And in this, that's the framework of often what I shared when I went through interviews, when I went through places of uncertainty, when I was exploring network opportunities. I began to share some of my story as the framework. Now, there's a lot more to it, just like there's a lot to your story, but there's bits and pieces that you can navigate and share with people to show how you progressed, how you evolve. So your story is always going to be your framework. Okay, every good coach sets an agenda, and it's our pregame talk. Here's our growth time agenda. There is going to be a pop quiz. Yeah, pop quiz. And don't be nervous. Even if you don't feel like you do well with it, we're not kicking you out of Job Seekers Network. We're still going to keep you loved and involved and connected. We're going to do a quick pop quiz. We're going to connect on the power of you, and then we're going to relate that to 3 keys to sell yourself. Selling yourself in interviews, selling yourself in networking, being sold on yourself. Then we'll have some time for some questions. All right, so we are an Austin fan. This whole diagram is done in some burnt orange because we're in Austin. If you are ready for actually your pop quiz, just give me a Longhorn sign. Give me that hook 'em sign. Okay, beautiful. Okay, so our first part today, here's our pop quiz. Got your paper? Got your pen? Okay, first question, I'm gonna give you 45 seconds. Who are you? Let's write this down. 45 seconds. Who are you? Who's Kendall? Who's Jody? Who's Robert? Who's Jenny? Who's Mark? Who are you? I think next time I'll play some music in the background. Craig, if you got music, man, you can fire that up.
I'm playing the Who in my head, so somebody else can sing it. I can't sing.
I don't want to break any eardrums this morning. Okay, the second question. Part 2. What do you do? What do you do? What's your mission? What is your what? What do you do? Write down thoughts, concepts. Write down what comes to you. What do you do? Third question. How do you do it? How do you do what you do? What's the platform? What's the process? How do you do it? How do you do it? How do you do what you do? This is a growth time journey. There is going to be something today that sparks your mind, sparks your thought, maybe inspirational, it may be transformational, it may be just a little shift that moves you farther and closer to finding your next thing, the next place, the next opportunity, the next big thing. And then number 4, the last one. This is the last part of your pop quiz. Why do you do it? What's your motivation? What's your why? What's your motivation? What motivates you? What moves you? Why are you motivated to do what you do? You're motivated to get up out of bed. How inspirational, how clearly defining. Why do you do what you do? What's your why? What's your motivation? Such a common thought when you're searching, when you're looking, when you're ready and you're open and you're curious and you're fighting and you're struggling for that next big thing. What is your why? What is your motivation? How much strength do you have in what motivates and moves you? How confident are you in your why? Still see some people are writing, so I'll give you a few more thoughts on that. All right, we're going to see how we did. So in the coaching world, in the coaching space, when it comes to personal growth, when it comes to development, when it comes to actually moving to your potential. So look, it all starts with clarity. Clarity is king. The clearer you are, the stronger you are, the more powerful you are, the more impactful you can be. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the clearest, like it was concise, it was short, it was strong, it was there. 1 being, whoa, I really had to think. I had to pause. I'm uncomfortable. I want to rank yourself. I want the self-awareness component to come through. So who are you? When you actually ranked yourself, if you rated yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, how clear are you? How clear were you? And I'd like you just to pop it in the chat because you're probably not alone. You don't need to save face. Many people feel the same way. I've interviewed literally hundreds of people and understood where they fall on this curve. So pop in the chat where you feel. You got a 6? Appreciate that. Where else? 7, 7, 6, 7, 7, 8. A lot of in-betweens. Those seem like odds. I love it. Few more. Like to hear from you a few more. Robert, Mark, where does it sit for you? Kendall's a 9. Ooh. Okay, what you do, your mission. How did you rate yourself? What's your mission? Are you clear on what you do? Are you clear on what you do? How did you rank yourself? Where'd you rate? Go for it. 5. Love it. 6. 7. 7. 5, 7. Great. How you do it? What's your process? How clear? What did you rate yourself? Clarity is king. How many are really clear on their highest values?
Quinn,
4.
may
Yes?
I ask a question? Can you define for you, can you elaborate on what you mean by what you do?
Yes, I will. I will elaborate that to you for sure. We're going to get to that. I'm glad you're asking that question already. We're going to totally cover that one today. 7. And then your why, your motivation. Do you have a 1-sentence strong vision statement that really gets the heart, the real heart of why you do what you do, your motivation? Got some good numbers. Love it. 6. Great. So this is a self-reflective exercise. And the reason why I'm walking you down this journey today, when we're going to get to how to sell yourself and a way to package that within the framework of your story, it's going to be important. Because at the core of our journey, we are basically trying to get clear on the power of you. What is the power of you? The power of you is about you living a fulfilled life. It's about you living fully engaged and fully alive. It's about being connected to your vision and values. This culture, this generation, millennials, Gen Zs, they will leave different companies at an alarming rate because they are not connected to the vision and values. They're looking for deeper purpose and meaning. So when we sell ourselves, if we're not speaking into their language, if we're not speaking what moves and motivates the workforce generation, which the Gen Z and millennials within 2 years will be 60% of the workforce. If we're not connecting on that level, mission, vision, values, and we're not able to sell ourselves in that capacity, we're going to miss. And the power of you is about that. And that's an engaged, fully alive life, being clear on you. And it's also the proven pathway really to reach and to live to your maximum potential. So in this, it's actually an equation, which is really powerful. So I share this equation, it's math. And the math equation on a get clear on the power of you is simple. It's your humanity plus your divinity equals 100% power. So in equations, you can break down each component and you can realize how will you play life? How will you play today? How will you play tomorrow? What's going to move and fulfill you and keep you motivated and keep you connected to the next big water, your next big opportunity is getting clear on the power of you. And then the part of this journey today is how to express that or share that in interviews, how to express that in networking, how to express that in a business opportunity that creates power, that creates change, that gets people connected to you. Because if you want like a hashtag or to write something down, clarity will grow your convictions. Your convictions will grow your confidence. People are attracted to confidence. That next thing is going to be tied to the confidence you walk into when you go into that interview, when you go into that opportunity, when you meet that next person in front of you. Clarity brings strong convictions. Convictions brings confidence. People are attracted to confidence. So I want to share with you real quick is how to break down this equation in a simple process for yourself. How do I get clear on you? I call it a purpose plan. It is one of the growth time models, which is almost a neuro-linguistic way of programming. And what I mean by that is a way to get your brain in pattern to think when you're approaching a certain topic, theme, or subject. It's a way to get your mindset wrapped around how do you get clear on the power of you. And your purpose plan, which has applicable ways for everything you do. Today, you have a purpose plan. There is a what, there's a what here today, what your goal is. There is a how you're going to go about trying to pursue that goal or that mission. And there's a motivation you have behind it. There is a purpose and a plan. And when you look at your humanity, when you look at the equation, this is the part that needs to drive clarity. If you look at you, you're like a wheel. And the clearer you are on your what, your mission and your what you're after, the clearer you are on your how. And I term that your values. It's like your code. What are the highest things you value in life and how clear you are on them? They will guide your decision-making progress and how clear you are on your motivation. When you have clarity in those areas and you have strong convictions, your wheel goes a little faster. You go further. You walk with more confidence and strength. I can share with you too. When I went through that transition in 2020, I wasn't overwhelmed. I wasn't discouraged. I wasn't in a place of being, oh my gosh, this sucks. I had a clear vision. I had a clear identity of what the power of me was and how that worked with humanity and divinity. So I could approach the next season of my life with confidence. And that's the season. You're in that growth time season. So you approaching with confidence is going to impact and open up doors and opportunities. So this purpose plan model is also used in networking. It's a way to think when you interact and engage with people. And we're going to connect on that a little bit when we talk about the 3 keys to selling yourself. The other component, the other part of the equation, which for some people can seem almost like a quadratic equation, tough to solve, uncertain, gosh, what does this look like? I don't even want to talk about this. This could be a place where if you're going to break through and get clear in the power of you have to realize that there's a part of you that's divinity, that there's a part where we're created as people, and there's a part where getting clear on God's plan, the divinity's plan for your life, and what that looks like will bring tremendous source, direction, comforts, even accountability to your days. So in that, there's 3 questions, the why, the how, and the what, that are so impactful for us to define to walk in fulfillment, to walk in confidence, to walk in strong convictions. And so you could look at how you feel today. How clear are you on why you were created? How clear are you on how God sees you? How clear are you on what does your Creator expect of you? Remember, clarity equals convictions. Convictions equals confidence. People are attracted to confidence. It's the pathway to grow your potential. So if you could list out, this may be an exercise for you after today's growth journey, because you might have to self-reflect. Write out your 3 top convictions on why you were created. How does God see you, and what does your Creator expect of you? It's a part of the equation that if we're going to live that fulfilled life, if we're going to live a life of values, if we're going to be able to express ourselves in the current world and society we live in, and wait for that and be open to the next big thing for our journey, we're going to have to be clear on the power of you. In this journey now, let's make it applicable. Okay, let's go to that next stage and make this applicable to 3 keys to selling yourself. This is where your money is. This is where your meat is. This is where you're going to have to take from self-awareness to developing mindset patterns and shifts to developing strong convictions. You're going to have to shift now at how do you present this. So 3 keys to sell yourself, right? This is your formula. Number 1, first you got to be sold on yourself. If you're not sold on you, if you don't have a deep-rooted convictions and confidence in you, how do you expect other people to? How can you show up? How can you show up well for that interview? How can you show up well for that network? You never know when that next right person's in front of you. 80% of jobs are done through referral and connections and networking. But if you're not sold on you, how can you sell yourself? So this is the growth journey. So if you're a 6, 7, 8, and there's that space where you're like, I could use some more clarity. I could get a more clearly defined what's my mission? I can get a more clearly defined values. How do I operate? What is my code? There's some work to do. And then what's your why? What's your superpower? What are the power in? What's your motivational? So when you're sold on you, you can begin to sell yourself on others. Number 2, communication. This is the part in the interview where the kind of rubber hits the road. And this is where that pattern of thinking of how to express yourself, your purpose plan, can be so impactful in the way you communicate. So you're in an interview, as an example, and someone asks you a question like, hey, when have you been successful before? Your answer could be very simply patterned after the purpose plan. You could tell them what was the situation that you went through, describe in detail how you accomplished that goal or task, and then connect it to your why, your motivation. What motivated you to complete that goal or task? And even connect it to the values and your motivation and drive in life. I've done probably over 700 interviews in my professional business career. And what I found is when people could clearly communicate about a situation, goal, or task, when they're able to express that with a clear, defined process and maybe confident that they were going to be clear and strong in the actions they took. And you know this too, when people go in different directions with their thoughts and their conversations, you're trying to track where they're going. It became the most challenging part for me to know that it would be a hard person to lead, a hard person to coach, if they didn't have a clear process or pattern way of thinking. And if they can't communicate it, it's a no-brainer, it's a non-starter. So communicating yourself and using the framework of your story, and then using that purpose plan model. What happened? How did things go? Why did you take the choice or make the action you decided to take? And then tie that back to some framework about you, about your story. Another example in networking. This is my pet peeve in networking, which I think you can identify. When you talk to people, it's very superficial. It's very one layer. There's no depth to that connection point. The purpose plan can help you solve for that. Getting connected to what people do is it's the one level surface. It's where usually people start. Most people are interested in talking about themselves. We definitely live in that selfie world. So in that, connect on what they do. Now, the next layer for you to get connected, to express, is how they do it. Hey, how do you go about what you do? How do you see a result, or how do you see a change, or what's your work experience, or how do you do that? Now, the third layer is what we're afraid of. It's that emotional connection phrase, to get emotionally connected to people, but yet it's the most powerful connection point in resource in communication is that why. What's moving them? What's motivating them to do that? And when asked with sincerity, when asked with curiosity, people open up. You've built a network. You've built a friend, not just someone who's on LinkedIn that you just kind of met. There's no power there. The power is in selling yourself, is being able to get connected to people. So number 2, communicating yourself. Communicate yourself in the interview. Communicate yourself by having a clear purpose plan and be able to express that. Then number 3, this is probably one of my favorites. Solve the problem. If you're going to sell yourself in an interview and you got clarity and you're using your story as the framework, solve the problem. One of the most painful parts of an interview that I've experienced, and this was a no brain, no way, no hire situation, is when the ball got turned to me. I turned the ball over to the potential employee. I said, hey, what questions do you have for me? Didn't have any. It's like, what are you doing? Like, why are you here? Like, you don't have any questions? You haven't thought through with it? So solve the problem. And the way to do that is by asking questions. Ask the person in the interview. Ask the person who's interviewing you. Hey, what challenges are you having in the workplace? What are you trying to solve for? What are the opportunities for me to help you understand the problem you have? In that, if you can solve the employer's need and you can communicate how you can expressively with your skill set, with your values, with your vision, solve that problem, you've got that opportunity. You've got that job. You got your next clarity of what your next big thing looks like. What's the next part of your journey? So solving the problem is one of the situations in that interview, in that networking, that you're going to have to master, is how to actually go ahead and get connected to that. So those are the 3 keys to selling yourself. I know I'm a little bit over time. I know I was kind of spacing it. I've got a few final thoughts to wrap up. And I hope I didn't cut into the great Craig's speech that's coming up next.
No, you're good. Keep going.
Keep going. What I want to share with you and ask you, out of today, I got a couple closing thoughts for you to help frame this week as you get out of this growth time huddle. What's one thing that kind of spoke to you, that kind of moved you, that you want to go this week to go do, that you want to improve on it, you want growth with it? Could it be something I want you to type it in the chat. I want you to type it in the chat. Is it something as simple as, I need to go put a little more work and get clarity on the power of me. I need to get more clarity on what my real why is. Maybe the untapped potential in you is getting clear on divinity and working that equation. And that could be scary. That could be frightening. I know that comes with a whole different realm of emotional hurdles and barriers and fears and concerns, yet it's a pathway. Maybe it's, I need to get better at communicating myself and using that purpose plan in the interview. But I want you to write in there, what's one thing that you can go do this week when the huddle breaks that you say, this is what I want to go do. This is where I want to improve. So if you can type that in, that would be awesome. And then Kindle, I'm going to get to answering your question. I haven't forgotten it. It's there. Jim, I need to work on clarity. Love it. Appreciate your transparency, Jim. Love it, Jody. Working on better organization. Organizing our thoughts is one of the most powerful things you can do. What do we got, Dominic? I'd love to hear your heart, Dominic. Work on the why. Love it, Robert. Very good, Kendall. Motivation interview and why I'm doing it. What is my motivation? It is a growth journey. It took me 40 days, literally, to actually go through a process and understand, get clarity on my why, my motivation. And it wasn't until my early 30s that I did that. I often think, gosh, how much more impactful, fulfilled, and stronger convictions would I had if I would have understood that sooner in my life. Okay, I'm going to share a couple wrap-up thoughts and actually give you a coach's challenge. If coaches don't challenge people, no one moves too forward to the potential in their future. So, wanted to share with you, and this will get to your question, Ken. Understanding your what. So if you heard in my story, if you heard the framework of it, if I'm learning to express myself and communicate, this is what comes across. That my purpose, my why, is to grow and develop leaders' lives. I do it through coaching, training, and education. And my what, my mission, really my mission, at the core of my mission, and this is the what, Kendall, is to unlock and unleash the power in you to change your world. That's what I'm driven by. My hope is with Growth Time, I can go impact 1 million people to reach and live to their potential and make the impact they were called and created to go do. That's my what, that's my mission. That's my goal, you could say it. What's your goal? What do you want to do? What's your what? And then I have a value system, clearly established, my decision-making, my thoughts. I evaluate this day by day. It's a part I reflect on at night. How well did I live congruent with my values? Care, commitment, and trust. It's that code. I call it my North Star in how I make decisions. So I will open up for questions in a second, but here is your challenge. Okay, I'm a sports fan still. I love shooting three-pointers, even though I'm 6'9". I was that shooter, put the ball in my hand, I'm gonna put the ball up. So I wanna challenge you, practice. Practice. Practice 3 responses in interviews this week. Think about typical questions based upon your industry, based upon your skill set, based upon employers typically ask you. Practice 3 responses and use in those 3 responses, use that purpose plan model. Develop that pattern, that way of thinking. Develop a process that you can communicate and articulate clearly. What, how, and why. Practice it. Tie it back then to you. Employers want to know that even if you fail, that there was growth in your journey. Even if you came up short, there was still opportunity where you shifted and changed. So practice. Write out 3 questions you get, practice mental reps, go ahead and speak to somebody. You want that role, you want that opportunity, got to put in the work. Networking. With 3 people you meet this week or connect with, get into their world, get into their space, use that model, understand what they do, get connected and curious how they do it, and then open up those emotional pathways. Open up people to you by willing to understand their why. You're going to see a shift. You'll see a change. You'll draw a different level of communication. And then even in business, there's different business ideas or opportunities or things you're looking to even with your leadership. Or if you have a side hustle, start evaluating it. Take 3 opportunities to look at what you're doing, how you're doing it, and why you're doing it. Neuralistic programming, a way of changing and shifting how you think, and that becomes a process in your mind, is practice. It's a practice component of shifting your mindset, and you'll learn to sell yourself, and you'll learn to get clarity in the power of you. You'll walk with more confidence. And look, that next big thing, that next opportunity, that 80-to-1 odds where you think this might be a challenging course, it's going to open up. You're going to be strong in you, you're going to be strong in divinity, and things are going to get clear, and you're going to walk in everything you're called and created to go do. Saying that, I will kind of wrap up. If you would like to get connected, to the Growth Time journey, I offer even like a free kind of 1-year journey through the whole Growth Time process. There's 6 major growth zones of life and leadership. So 3 in life, 3 in leadership. And I walk people through a journey of it. Go ahead if you want to type your email in the chat. I will get you connected. There's resources there to help you further your personal growth and development. So just put your email in the chat. I will get you connected to that. If I can ever help with support, you can go to my website, coachqharwood.com, and I offer a free one of, free, huddle, I call it, a free 30-minute just to connect and see what possibilities might exist in the coaching space to further you. But type your email in the chat. Love to get you connected. And Craig, I severely went over, but I apologize.
No worries.
And I will kick it back to you.
It's all good stuff. Thank you, Quinn, for joining us and making your services available to everybody. I had a question, and I think I know the answer, but the rah-rah, kind of when you're down and trying to motivate, the rah-rah only lasts so long. It's when you really understand why you're doing things in life, what are you doing, and knowing particularly the why, isn't that longer lasting rather than just kind of, the one time, okay, I'm a little depressed, I'm going to go for a walk. That helps, but what are your thoughts on that?
That's so true, Craig. I mean, a fulfilled, purpose-driven life starts with clarity on the power of you. And so the more you can then change the way you think by being clear on you and knowing your mission, being clear on your values, and then being clear on your motivation, then putting it to use. Like doing the work is kind of like, I do the work and then I shelve it. Well, then all you've done is like create a little elasticity on the impact it has in your life. So I'll be candid, in my own growth journey, I get discouraged, I get down. I'm trying to build a platform. I'm trying to influence people. It's not easy. It's hard. And there's days I wrestle with my own self-confidence, or I doubt, or gosh, this sucks, or what's the purpose of this? Am I going to make it through? There's all that can weld up, but I go back to my purpose. I go back to my values. And it sounds funny, but I will say it. I will get up in the morning and I will declare it. Here's my created purpose. Here is what I'm intended to do. Here's my value system. And then I will ask, Coach, God, help me come make this powerful and use to impact people. And so it creates a different elasticity, Craig, when it's not just the growth work to get the answers for you and uncover and unleash you. It's then practicing it, ingraining it, making it part of your daily pattern of how you think, that really begins to move you to a higher level in terms of your life and get you past that a journey of that emotional roller coasters that we all kind of go through. It kind of can help level them out.
Yeah. So you say it out loud every morning. You say your purpose or some affirmations out loud every morning.
Yes, it's kind of one of the greatest gifts we have. We have, basically 2 ears and 1 mouth. And what we think can shift and change. How you think today, how you feel today is on a roller coaster. What gives us power, and this is actually a proverb, the power of life and death is in the tongue, and those who love it will eat of its fruit. So our words have power, they have strength. So when we start declaring stuff, when we start speaking stuff out, there's tremendous power to that. An analogy is, and this is completely, a faith-based perspective, but when you look at it, God didn't think the world into existence, he spoke it.
Yeah.
So if we're created in his likeness and image, how more important it is to speak and declare positive strengths and encouragements that align with who we are and the power of us over our lives. There's power in it, Craig.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Quinn. Appreciate you sharing this morning and have a great week.
Thanks.